Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we are finally covering the anime Jujutsu
Kaisen!
Sylvia! Yes! She's been waiting for this one, so now she can leave in all her thoughts.
Yes, and this well-loved anime is based on the popular manga of the same name. It follows high schooler Yuji Itadori, who seems like a slightly average kid until he encounters creatures known as curses that'll be attacking
No, hollows.
people.
They're hollows.
Curses. They're attacking people. Now, from there, he learns about the world of Jujutsu Sorcerers as he learns to become one in order to save others from the ultimate evil.
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, include notification updates on future podcasts and we'll pause the video.
Absolutely. Now, I have to say, I saw this first.
Yes.
And I kept saying over and over, I really want to see this. I really want to see it. It's like it's going to really be good. I want to see this. I want to see it. And Rascal decided to take a peek before me and saw 5 episodes ahead of me. And then when she told me, I just looked at her like, are you kidding me? You have got to be kidding me.
No, you make it sound like I just wanted to watch it without you. No, actually what happened was, for a short time, someone was posting the episodes for free on YouTube in full quality and in English.
This is before we got Crunchyroll, which we absolutely love. If you don't have Crunchyroll, it's worth the money.
Right. And they had broken up into like 30-second parts. And I wanted to make sure it was the whole thing because they didn't have the English dub on YouTube either. They had it like in Russian and other languages. So I had to watch it and I wanted to make sure it wasn't fake.
And she had to watch 5 to make sure.
Yeah. And then I watched one. I'm like, okay, it's real. I can show it to her. Then I watched the second one. Then I watched the third one. Then we got Crunchyroll. I went there and watched 3 and 4. And I have to stop at 5 because I would watch that whole thing without Mama. And I had to stop and just rewatch those episodes with her. And then everything else I hadn't seen. And it's like, I loved it.
And it didn't disappoint. It was like, from the first episode, you're hooked. I mean, you cannot help but to be hooked the first episode.
Yes.
Now, of course, one thing that really got us interested in wanting to see it was Adam McArthur as Itadori.
Yes.
And I remember on Twitter when he made the announcement that he could, finally tell that he got in the role.
Right.
We didn't know what to expect. We were just happy, like, yay, he's getting into anime. He's going to have another Marcos moving on.
Right.
And we were so excited. But this here, this has made him an anime voiceover star, an English dub star, you could say. And he's going to be forever known for Marco.
Yes.
And for Itadori.
Yes.
He's got 2 memorable, legendary, life-changing roles.
Yes. And a part of the time when you're watching, at least for the beginning, all you hear is Marco.
Yes.
And he's trying not to do a Marco voice. Like, you can tell it's still him, but he's trying not to just sound exactly like Marco Diaz. But there are times when he loses it and then he just becomes Marco. And they even make some inside jokes about it that weren't in the manga, or it just played well because of who they have voicing. Like when he gets his outfit, he's the only one with a red hoodie. And everyone's imagination, they pretend he's had memories with them. He has a red hoodie on, and he always has some red hoodie on in someone's mind. It's never just regular clothes.
And he also has the most unique look: pink hair, red hoodie, pink shoes.
What?
He has no fashion sense.
Oh, poor
He's
guy.
slightly off-center and kind of goofy and lovable, and you can't help loving the character. You can't. And you can't help loving any of this cast. So let's get to the true story, the true reason to love JJK.
Yes.
And that is the story itself.
Right.
It is absolutely fantastic and well written.
Yes. So in here is established that there used to be this grand demon called Sukuna, right? Hope I'm pronouncing it because that's per different pronunciations.
S-U-K-U-N-A.
And they had defeated him a long time ago, and his things were broken up into 12 fingers, and yes, that is the correct amount before you think it's something else. No, sorry, 20 fingers before you think it's something else. And they're trying to get all the fingers back again because by itself they all give off this energy and they attract other curses. And the thing for them is that you have to have one that's stronger than a regular one, so wars them off. But the catch is that they also bring their own baggage, so it kind of feels like you're bringing in more trouble, bringing in the stronger one, than having no protection at all.
And if you don't understand, just go onto Twitter, and there's tons of memes about what it's like trying to understand how the curses work.
And the jujutsu and everything. Like, it's like trying to solve for C and equations now.
And one great thing about the manga is the writer actually attempts to tell you after multiple chapters explaining what goes on within the chapter, and it's hilarious because you understand a crap thing that's going on,
right?
And you're sitting there reading like, yeah, okay, next chapter,
right?
But the way that it plays out and unfolds in the story in the anime is just fantastic. It's great in the manga too, but in the anime and being able to see it live is fantastic.
Yes.
So unfortunately, Itadori's story starts off sadly. He loses his grandpa.
Yes.
And he gives him some advice, like Uncle Ben, before he passes, about how he should live his life.
Right.
And he's really sad because that's the last known family he has, and that's the last family that we know at this point in the story that he has.
Right. And
he doesn't really care anymore. So it starts off pretty sad.
Right. So, and they introduced to Fushiguro, who is one of the Jujutsu Sorcerers you'll meet later, and he asked them, and he asked them, where's the finger? The school has had this one of the fingers wrapped there for years. It's supposed to be warding off things, which they kind of change in the anime where you don't see it. You see it in the manga, but it's less obvious in the anime. It's one of the few things they had changed. And he thought Itadori had it, but it turned out to be Itadori's two idiot friends in the occult club, because they go decide one night and unwrap it to see if it was real. And it's like, why? If it has this much stuff locked up on it, that means you don't open it.
And even if you knew it was real or didn't know it was real, why in the heck would they open it?
Right.
Oh, like you said, idiot friends. Yeah.
And from then, all these curses come out, start attacking him, trying to kill them. And Itadori's one of the few quirks he has is that he has this really abnormal strength, and they don't know why. Yeah, and they don't know why he just has it, and it always either shocks them or they kind of make fun of him for, like, that's a different reaction than I expect for that. And he ends up saving the friends, but in order to do that, he has to eat the finger because he's not enough strength to beat them, because they had grown so large that he couldn't even use his regular strength to do it.
And he mentions about, after what happened with his grandfather, he doesn't really care much about having a normal death anymore, and that's explained within the anime.
Right.
We won't go into all of that. So he just goes ahead and eats the finger.
Right. It's almost a little depressing hearing that. And then when he gets it, he instantly boosts up, but then he becomes possessed by Sukuna. And that's how the first episode ends, with this maniacal laughing, and that's just how it ends.
And in this fandom, Sukuna has as many fans as Itadori, because when he turns to Sukuna, he glows up. There's no other way to put it, people. I don't care how you say it. There's no other way. He glows up. He gets muscles. He takes his shirt off.
Oh, every time he takes his shirt off.
All of a sudden, you've got these people that are just fans of his Sukuna version when he goes dormant and he becomes prominent. And it's like, I've never seen that name of the fandom. This one.
Like, what?
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
and he gets the tattoos on.
Right, and it's hilarious. It's almost hilarious. Like, this doesn't even feel like it's real.
So, after this, we're introduced to other characters. We're introduced to
Gojo!
Yes, Satoru Gojo. Mm-hmm. And yes, he's our favorite character. And you're introduced to Nabara.
Yes. And later you end up seeing the teachers, you see the second years.
But early on we're introduced to them because he ends up going to school.
Right.
Again, to learn how to be a Jujutsu sorcerer.
Right.
And then Nabara and Megami are the two students with him that are learning as well.
Right. And you also get introduced to Nanami in a little bit too, what they call the salary man.
So at first, when Nabara meets Itadori, she's got this really quirky personality, and I like it that they end up getting along quicker than you expect, because
Yeah.
when they first meet, you just think, okay, this is gonna go to hell. What a
B-word!
You just think it's gonna go one way, but it doesn't. And I really like that it worked out that way. And we'll get back to Gojo in just a moment. And then Megami he's kind of like, I don't know any other way to describe it. It's kind of like in the beginning, how you find a puppy and you love it and you want to take care of it. That's kind of the way you feel about Itadori. It is. And Gojo's like, you really want him as part of this? Yes. And it's like, okay. Now to beautiful Gojo.
Yeah.
Beautiful, weird, bizarre, bonkers, lovable Gojo.
Yes. And what's funny about him is that you think he's just so like maybe another student the way he acts, but he's actually a teacher, and he's really goofy and offbeat. He goes off, does his own thing, he shops, he gets food, he travels and things, and then when he's needed, he just shows up immediately. And like, you were out shopping for food while I was getting your butt kicked.
And the thing that's most astounding is how powerful he is.
Right.
And right now, as far as we know, he is the most powerful sorcerer.
Right.
He is the last one you would expect to be.
Right.
And he is.
Right.
And it is like scary when you see him use his power.
Right.
And Rascal's gonna tell you one of her favorite scenes right now. I know it's coming, so just go ahead and get it over with.
Okay. There's one scene they have of one of the villains, and they think it's gonna be Gojo, and it's not. It's Nanami, and they were like, "Oh, okay, thank goodness. I thought it'd be Gojo. He'd kill everybody." And then they have him in the little anime and the manga. He goes, "Wee!" Like he's frolicking in the fire. He said, "I'm gonna kill all of you."
Okay, your second favorite. That's the one I thought you got my second favorite with the arms and legs.
Okay, yes. There's one scene where there's an attack on the school, like kind of like what happened with season 3 of MHA, and there's this guy who's like, bury the chopper, and he keeps saying he wants to turn Gojo's spine into a coat rack, and it's like a really weird thing, and he talks all this stuff about how he's gonna do, and it's gonna look awesome and stuff, and then when Gojo shows up, he starts going nuts, and then in like 2 seconds, without even moving, all his limbs and his legs are all twisted up, and he's just on the floor, and then he's already
Did he even raise his hand? Did
Yeah.
he raise his hand?
No, he's like, it was already over. He was like 2 seconds and he was already defeated. And he's on the ground twisted up like, what did you just do?
And he kept talking about he wanted to make a coat rack out of Gojo's skin. And it was like, oh gosh, please stop. Shut up. So yeah, that won't be happening. So we failed to tell you is each one has their own abilities. Like Fushiguro makes animals that have powers out of shadow puppets.
Yes.
Which is pretty neat.
Right.
And then as we mentioned, Itadori has this unbelievable strength that comes out of nowhere that you don't know why.
Right.
Nobara.
She uses like a hammer and nail technique and like a cursed doll technique where it's sort of like a long range type move. Mm-hmm. And I guess you want to count the other one would be shopping. So
yes. And then Gojo, his is just
everything.
Yes, the red and the blue is what I'm going to describe. The red and the blue are separate. Then they come together, all hell breaks loose. That's the power. That's the quickest way to describe it.
And it's so bad when they fight the villains fight the students, but when Gojo comes out, they run. They just say, okay, I'm done. I don't have a chance against him. Just get out before he gets here. And they know when he's coming, and they hightail out of there. They're that terrified of him.
So there's so many things that happen within this season that we don't want to tell you because it really will spoil your experience. But we're going to tell you is high action, high drama, high mystery, excellent fight scenes, things you can figure out and things you can't.
Right.
There's just so much going on within here. It's hard to believe that this is all within one season.
Right.
You're going to hear a lot of English dub actors, if you watch it in English, that you know from other shows, including Tengen from Demon Slayer.
Yes.
And it's just a fantastic show. It just doesn't disappoint. There's nothing out there like it. You know that it has influences from other shows, like SOFHAB of the End.
Yeah.
But,
and I got a lot of Bleach because
yes.
they even use the 70s style music in there a few times.
But it doesn't copy them.
Right.
And you can see the influence, but it's its own unique thing. It's its own unique animal is the best way I'm going to put it. And you'll just be excited for every episode to come. It's great that you can go on Crunchyroll now and watch the entire season without having to wait to see it from week to week. I think that's probably the best way to watch it, but I'm telling you, when season 2 comes, can't wait for it all to get piled up. Gotta see it from week to week.
Right.
Because if you don't, you're going to have spoilers all online. They're going to destroy your experience. Trust us.
Yes. And oh wait, we got 3 important things we got to bring up. Okay. First off was near the beginning was you mentioned about Megumi's powers. It's one where they go on a mission and it's like a labyrinth type place and it's like the rooms are moving around, and one part that has become iconic with the show is that Itadori and Nobara freak out because the doors close behind them and like everything keeps moving and they freak out and then they go, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Lose their minds. And then the second would be one of the best episodes for anime is the Jujutsu baseball episode.
Yes, it's really similar to the one from, if you've seen Twilight, I forget which movie, but in one of them they have this outstanding baseball game and they should have just done a whole movie on that.
Yes.
And so you can know this is what inspired this episode.
Yes.
And they do a great homage to it.
Right, and that was the episode I've been like counting down to see it as soon as I saw the title. And the last thing, you cannot forget, the outro was more iconic than the intro with Lost in Paradise.
Yes, which we've listened to 1 billion times and know the lyrics to and never get tired of it. It's one of those songs that you just vibe and it never gets old.
Yeah.
It's not like Summertime Lovin' from regular show. You just don't care how many times you see the video and hear the song. It's just exciting every time, like you've never heard it. How Aklos featuring Akon did this, I don't know, but it's absolutely brilliant.
Yes. And it's sort of ironic because they changed the outro later and nobody liked it. And then
unfortunately, it's like, well, why do you have this here? Just get it back. Make sure for season 2 you return to Lost in Paradise.
Right. And then for like the end of the season, we won't tell you how it ends specifically, but Mama had pointed out it was a little odd for an anime because they had a really high energy arc with the school being invaded. Mm-hmm. And then they had an extra thing with the baseball and then an extra mission to close it out. And it ends on a rather calmer note, which is unusual for, especially for a show like this. It has more like, okay, well, we're going to wind it down and then you know what's coming next season instead of just ending it off with all the action and then the last few minutes be quiet. It was really odd for a show like this, just have an entire episode where it's just nothing but a wind down.
Yes. So I also want to mention, before we wrap this up, that we are now actually reading the manga itself. So we'll be caught up on everything that's going on by the time season 2 comes.
Right.
If you haven't read the manga, it's worth reading. It doesn't matter if you've seen the anime. There's so many things that are extrapolated on in the manga, and there are some things that are a little different in translation. Like there's this one scene I love where Itadori is talking to Toto, yes. And, you know, he's had this whole idea in his head where he imagines that they've been best friends through school and everything. And Itadori turns to Marco and he says something about he's got 2 reasons or he got
3 words for him.
And he says, and then he does it and he says, okay, but that's 2. And I'm like, shut up, Marco!
Oh man, yeah. So, yeah, this show was really fantastic. We can now understand why people were losing it when they were watching it. It was one of those binge-worthy type shows. It's one that gets you first episode, and they had talked about this for a long time, and it was a while before they even greenlit season 2. I guess they either wanted to make sure it stayed popular, or there was enough manga chapters out where they could adapt and not be caught up too soon. Yes. Because that has happened a lot in the past. So I think it was about 2 years before they finally greenlit season 2, and now enough of the story has happened to where they can do seasons 2 and 3. And now they've done a movie as well.
Yes, definitely. And you'll hear our podcast on that as well. But I want to mention 2 more things that really stand out that make this enjoyable. One, if you've been on Twitter, you see the memes and the posts and things about Gojo being a dad to all of them. And he is. Mm-hmm. Even though he's like a kid himself, he is like a father that each single one of them is needed. And when you find out their backstories and what's going on, you'll know why. Well, you know Itadori's because we mentioned it to you in the beginning. And then the second thing is he's lost his grandfather, the last family he knows, but indirectly he's immediately found another family because they're like family for him.
Right.
And again, in the beginning, you think they're not going to get along, but they all do. They care about each other. They're training. They're getting better together. They're growing together. And it's like he got a brother and a sister, and he's not a space dad, or we'll say a Jujutsu Kaisen dad.
Right.
And he's not alone. So I do like that about it as well.
Yes, definitely.
So if you've seen JJK, let us know what you think in the comments below. It's available to watch on Crunchyroll in full. Did you see it when it originally came out, or did you see it like we did and you had to catch up with it after the season was almost over? And if you haven't seen it, again, it's on Crunchyroll to see. If you don't have Crunchyroll, it's worth the investment. There's going to be so many great things that are coming out this month in October that you've got to see. This is October 1st, and there's lots of anime that's coming out. So if you don't have Crunchyroll, go ahead and pay for it. We've got the second tier one, but if you're a person who likes to buy a lot of figurines and things, they have a great deal, and we're not getting anything for this. We just want to tell you so you know. They've got a third tier that is we're mega fans, and there's ultimate fan.
Right.
And ultimate fan's a little higher, but you get a great discount every month when you buy anime merch. And then I think you get some type of goodie bag that comes out once a year. So we may end up considering upgrading to Ultimate Fan soon.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it, this is one that you've got to see. It's one, as they say, for the books.
Right.
You've got to see JJK.
Yes. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos on your favorite anime series like this one.
Yes.
Animated shows and all things animation.
And movies.
Yes. And look forward to our podcast on the movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0.
Yes, absolutely.
So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Master Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.